ZoomText Mac version 1.1, which now has some new speech functionality, which we're going to go over today. My name is Derek Bovey. I work here as our Technical Product Manager. And with me is Rebecca White, who is our Marketing Project Manager. She'll be logged in answering any questions you might have while I'm giving the presentation. So this is an outline of what we're going to cover. Really what we're going to focus on today are the new features. We're going to talk about the Focus Echo, Mouse Echo, and WebReader features. I'll give you a live demonstration. And then we'll talk about the upgrade information as well as pricing, the accessories we sell, which are the large print Mac keyboards and keyboard overlays. And then we'll also have time for question and answer at the end. All right, so I'll talk a little bit about what each feature is and then demonstrate it to you as we go. So as I mentioned, there are three new features in version 1.1. This is a free update for existing ZoomText Mac users. The first two features you could really consider screen reading features. They're turned on, well, depending on your settings, they're turned on and reading information back to you automatically. The first of which is called Focus Echo, and what this does is it will read text information from the current control, the text field that you're in, a menu item, or buttons. So generally, as you're navigating using your computer, it's going to give you some sort of feedback, whether it's the title of the application window you're in, the label of the button that you're on, or if you're going down a menu, any of the items on the menu. This is a beta feature, which basically means that it has some limited functionality, and we're continuing to improve it as we develop ZoomText Mac. So it's not going to read everything on screen. There are some limitations to how this tool currently works. There may be cases where it doesn't always read the window title, or it's not able to get any text information from the application. So that's why we've labeled this as a beta feature. Rather than wait another 3 to 6 months to refine this feature, we decided that we were going to release it and get some feedback on people running the program and improve it as we continue to develop the product. The next feature is called Mouse Echo, and what this will do is it lets you use your mouse as kind of a spot reading device. So basically you place your mouse over text, and either automatically or when you press a certain key on the keyboard, it will read the entire item's name, or if it's text, it'll read that entire paragraph of text back to you. So it's a really easy way to use your mouse to just point at text and have it read back to you. The last tool is called WebReader, and this is really more of a document reading tool. So if you're familiar with our PC product, this would be pretty similar to DocReader. But the main difference here and the main benefit of this tool is that it easily allows you to extract just important content from a busy web page and then read it back to you using any of the built-in voices that are on your Mac. So what it's going to do is when you're on a website, automatically start from the title of the article and then read the resulting text of that article back to you. Because a lot of times there's a ton of content on any given web page, whether there's ads or other links or comments and things like that. So what WebReader does is only reads you back the article information. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to tell it where to start. It'll automatically do that for you. It can also read any text that you're able to copy into the clipboard. So if you can select it with your mouse and copy the text, WebReader can also read that content as well. What this means is that you have access to pretty much any type of document format on your Mac, whether it's an email, a text document in Pages or Microsoft Word, or a PDF document. Any text that you can copy, you can then have WebReader read back to you. So it's not just for reading content on the web. It can read any text that you're able to copy to the clipboard. So really powerful tool that we'll get into here in just a second. So those are the three new features, and now we're going to go ahead and switch over and give you a live demonstration of each one of those. All right, so here's my Mac desktop here. I'm going to go ahead and start ZoomText and open the ZoomText Preferences panel.
Zoom WebReader Preferences menu item. Magnification.
Okay, so we've opened up the Preferences panel. Now, the first thing you're going to notice if you are running an older version of ZoomText Mac, really the main difference you'll see in the Preferences panel is the speech category.
Speech.
Okay, and in here is where you're going to find your settings for focus echo and mouse echo. So let's talk about some of these settings. First of all, at the very top, you have a checkbox to turn speech on or off. That right now is turned on, as you can hear it speaking. You can choose which voice you want to be using.
Alex, menu item.
And in here, there are a number of different voices. I'll show you towards the end of our demonstration where you can install some additional voices. Some of these are more novelty rather than realistic and human sounding, so we'll talk about which ones are good to use as well.
Albert, speech.
So you can choose your voice. You can adjust the rate, either make it faster or slower. Its volume as well, if you want to adjust the speech rate and have it, a lower volume than other things on the system, you can do that in here as well. Focus echo in and of itself really has two modes, labels only or labels and context. When it's turned on, if I start tabbing through the Preferences panel,
Checkbox, enable speech, checked. Pop-up button, currently set to Alex.
and I'm just hitting the tab key. So I'm going to tab through a few of these controls just so you can hear what it sounds like.
Slider speech adjusted to 180 words per minute. Slider speech volume set to 100%. Checkbox, focus echo, beta, asterisk, checked.
Okay, and if I'm on a menu,
ZoomText, menu bar item. Close ZoomText preferences, menu item. Command U.
Okay, so it's reading to me the label, it's saying it's a menu item, and then what its hotkey is.
Checkbox, focus.
If you ever want to interrupt speech, just press the control key and it will stop speaking. So there are two modes to focus echo, labels in context and labels only. I have it set to labels in context right now, which basically will read to me the title of the item and what type of control it is. So it's saying checkbox, radio button, pop-up button, menu item, things like that. So it's in what that state is, checked, unchecked, so on and so forth. If you have it set to labels only,
Focus echo, beta, asterisk.
it's only going to read the label of the control.
Speech volume set to 100%.
Before it said speech slider. Let's go to the pop-up menu.
Alex.
Now it just says Alex. Before it said pop-up button or pop-up menu set to Alex.
Enable speech.
And previously on the checkbox, it would say enable speech checkbox checked. And on our menus,
ZoomText.
Before it said ZoomText menu bar item.
Close ZoomText preferences.
And here it said close ZoomText preferences, menu bar item, command Q being the hotkey. So if you have it set to labels only, it's just going to read the text. So whatever text you see, that's what it's going to read back to you. Okay. So for the most part, you might want to have this set to labels and context, and I'll give you an example of where that's helpful. When you're in your mail application.
Read message from Derek Ove. April 22nd, 14, Zoomed in blog summary. In case you haven't been checking our Zoomed in blog religiously, here's a summary on.
So when I'm in mail, it will read back to me the current message I'm on, if it's read or unread, who it's from, the date, the subject, and then the first 200 characters of text automatically. Okay, so if you want to know that information, whether it's read, who it's from, what the subject is, you want to leave that setting on labels and context. And if you start arrowing up and down your inbox.
Read message from Rebecca White, December 12th, 13, top tech tidbits for Thursday, December 12th, 2013.
Okay, I'm just going to hit the control key to stop that. But you can see as I'm arrowing up and down my mail inbox, it's reading all these items back to me automatically. All right, at least the cursory information, who it's from, the subject, and parts of the actual message. Okay, so just a few examples of where Focus Echo is going to give you some information. When you're in the mail application, it'll read the current message. If you're on menu items, if you're tabbing through controls, or if you open Safari, for example.
Text field, currently empty.
It tells me I'm in a text field and that's currently empty. If I open something like Pages,
text field.
I don't know what happened there. Let's try that again. If I open something like Pages, well, I thought it was going to open something different.
Text area currently empty.
Okay, it tells me I'm in a text area that's currently empty. Depending on whether or not you get into a text field, it will read the title of the window. In both cases of Safari and Pages, the first time you open them, you're in a text area. That's where focus is placed. So it's not reading the window title because of where focus is placed. But let's see. Let's open Finder.
Window labeled all my files.
There you go. So if you open Finder, it said window labeled all my files. That's the title of the window I just opened. All right. And if you were to arrow through any of these items,
blog1.docx, blog2.docx,
you can see
Microsoft Word
that it's reading the labels back there as well. Okay. So that's what Focus Echo is going to do for you. Give you some basic information as you're navigating around your computer. Okay, and if there's any text in any of those text fields, it will read it back to you up to a certain amount. It's not going to read like, the entire page or document back to you automatically. It'll read the first 200 characters. So if I had text typed in here,
text field.
Let's do this. Let's go to Google.
Window labeled top zo text field.
If I typed in ZoomText Mac and tabbed away from this.
Button labeled Google search.
And I tabbed back to the text field, Shift tab.
ZoomText Mac text field.
It tells me what's in that text field as well. Okay? So that's how Focus Echo will behave when you're using it in ZoomText Mac. Now, real quickly, there are some hotkeys that you can use to control or to turn Focus Echo on and off, as well as turn speech on and off altogether. If you want to turn speech completely off, both Focus Echo and Mouse Echo, that hotkey is Command Option.
Mouse Echo.
Command Option 3. That will uncheck the Enable Speech checkbox, turn it off completely. So Command Option 3 will turn speech on and off globally. If you just want to turn off Focus Echo, it's Command Option 4. Notice that the checkbox is unchecked now. So if you just want to turn Focus Echo off and don't want to use it and only use Mouse Echo, you can do that as well. All right, so now that I've turned Focus Echo off, I'm going to talk about Mouse Echo. Now, remember I said that this allows you to use your mouse and kind of point to text and have it read back to you. The default setting is that Mouse Echo will only be enabled when pressing Option. You can have it always on, which basically means whenever your mouse moves over text, it's going to read it back to you. But I'll show you how it works when using the when pressing Option setting. So now if I put my mouse over any text and then just simply press the Option key,
restore defaults.
It read me the title of the button I was on.
Close.
Or any of these items here, as long as my mouse is over the text.
Start after login.
And if you're on the internet, and let's say we'll just go to our blog so I can find an area with some text. So I've got some text in this paragraph here. If I put my mouse anywhere within this paragraph, it could be the middle sentence here, and hit Option.
Assistive technology leaders merge to expand opportunities for computer users who are blind or visually impaired.
Okay, it read that whole paragraph back to me. I just put my mouse in on one line of text and then hit the Option key. And also, if you are using Mouse Echo on links within Safari and you hit the Option key,
link, our perspective,
it will tell you if the item you're on is a link. All right, so any of these tabs across the top are links.
Link, product reviews.
Okay, so all I'm doing is moving my mouse over text and then hitting the Option key on the keyboard. It's very easy.
Link, ZoomText Mac now with speech.
All right, so all these items you can see are links.
Link, AI Squared is pleased to announce the latest ZoomText Mac version 1.1.0 now includes speech support. This is a free update for existing ZoomText Mac users.
Just like focus echo, if you want to interrupt mouse echo, like let's say I had it start reading this paragraph.
Our mission is to provide a full family of computer accessibility.
Hitting the control key will interrupt mouse echo and stop it from reading. So if you queued it up to start reading a paragraph and just wanted it to stop talking, just hit the control key. All right, so that's how it behaves with using the when pressing option setting. If I had this set to always on, anytime my mouse has moved over text,
when pressing command, when pressing option.
Wherever I go, whatever application I'm in, it's automatically going to start reading.
Our link read on by Derek Ove. In this release, you will find 3 brand new features. Focus.
Okay, so it's always going to be continually reading if you have it set to always on. So you're probably going to want to have it set to one of these 3 options.
Speech. When pressing option.
So that it's not so chatty. If you're more of a keyboard user and only want to use your mouse to point at text and read it, then you may want to have the always on setting. But for the most part, I think it's going to be easier to control it by using either the when pressing shift, command, or option settings. Okay. The hotkey for mouse echo is command option 5. If you want to turn it on or off, command option 5 will do that. Okay. So I'll go ahead and turn these back on. And then
when pressing shift,
I'm actually going to turn speech off completely and show you the WebReader tool. So those are the 2 settings that you'll find on the Preferences panel. Now, WebReader, you won't find any reference to it in the Preferences panel. If you want to launch WebReader via the mouse, you're going to find it in the ZoomText Quick Launch menu in the upper right-hand corner. So under here, you'll have a number of different options. You can adjust your magnification level, disable or enable ZoomText, turn on your color enhancement, toggle speech on and off, and then there's an option for WebReader. So there's 3 different launch options that you have. You can read from your browser, and that's either Safari or Chrome. It'll read the current page that you have open in your browser. You can read from your clipboard if you have text copied to the clipboard, or there's an option here to just open WebReader. If I choose this, it's going to open the tool and just start reading me some information about what it is and how to use it. So if you don't have any content, let's say I didn't have my browser open, I had nothing in the clipboard, I just started my computer and started ZoomText, these 2 will be grayed out. So the only thing I'd have here is open WebReader. So I'm going to go ahead and open this and let it read for just a second and then explain what's going on.
Welcome to ZoomText WebReader, a simple to...
I had some settings turned on in here, so I want to restore the default so you can hear what the default voice is, which is the Alex voice. So let me go ahead and start this over. And we'll talk about how you can get some of those other voices like the one I just had assigned in WebReader towards the end. So I'm going to go ahead and open WebReader. Oops,
welcome to ZoomText WebReader, a simple-to-use reading tool that strips away all distracting information from web pages. It will also read aloud any content that's in your clipboard.
I'm going to go ahead and hit the spacebar key, which will pause or resume reading in WebReader. So what happens is when you open it, if you don't choose the read from clipboard or read from browser options, it's going to open up WebReader with kind of this help text that tells you a little bit about the tool, what the hotkeys are, and how you use it. Now notice that the interface looks very similar to our doc reader tool on the PC. This will highlight both the current sentence and word that's being read in WebReader. There are navigation controls up at the top. So I mentioned that the spacebar key will play pause. There are buttons for pretty much every type of navigation up here. Hitting the spacebar will play and pause.
You just opened the WebReader window, which
if you want to start it from the beginning, there's a restart button here, or you can hit return on your keyboard.
Welcome to ZoomText WebReader.
That brings you all the way back to the beginning. You can navigate by paragraph using the up and down arrow keys on your keyboard.
You've just opened the web. Here's how it works. You've just opened the welcome to ZoomText.
Okay, so I just went down a couple paragraphs and then up. If you want to navigate by sentence, that is the left and right arrow keys.
It will also read aloud if you've just opened the web reader. It will also read aloud, welcome to ZoomText Web.
Okay, so left and right arrow keys to navigate by sentence, and up and down arrow keys to navigate by paragraph. You have buttons for paragraph and sentence navigation up here. If you want to navigate by word, hold down the Option key and use the left and right arrow keys.
A. Simple to use reading tool. Reading.
Okay, and it will not continue reading if you are navigating by word. It'll stay paused. So again, if you want to navigate by word, that's Option left and right arrow. There's not buttons for that up there, mainly because in the other view the toolbar buttons would be pretty cramped, and we felt that word navigation is probably the least likely type of navigation that people are going to do. So there's no mouse button equivalent for navigating by word. You'll also see on the interface here you have buttons to grab content from your browser, from the active browser window, or your clipboard. So if you've already opened WebReader and decide, well, now I want to read from my web browser, you could just click the button there. And there are hotkeys for these, which I'll go over in just a minute. The last thing I want to show before we get into using WebReader in some different areas are the settings. In here, you can customize things like your text size. So I can make this a little bit bigger. Your font face, there's 4 different font types available, or you can use the fonts from the actual document that you're reading. And you can adjust line spacing of the text, so more or less space in between each line. And under the color options here, you have a number of different preset color schemes that are listed. Some are very high contrast. Others have less difference in contrast between the sentence and backgrounds. And you can even choose whether or not you want the scheme to be applied to both the sentence and word, just the sentence, so no word highlight. You can see that reflected here in the preview. Or if you just want the word highlight and no sentence, or no highlighting at all, you can choose that too. So if you don't like the sentence highlight, you can turn it off. Okay. Sentence highlighting is kind of a new concept for us. We don't have that in any of our other products. So this might be a bit of uncharted territory for some users if they're just used to word highlights. The other great thing is you can go in here and create your own custom scheme. So if I choose custom, you're going to see that I can pick the background color, my text color, and customize the sentence and word color. So if I wanted to have red text, and I just click the color swatch here, red text with a black background, and so I'm just clicking these buttons here, and you see that the title of the color swatch reflects what I'm actually changing. So this says sentence text. Right now it's set to black. Let's say I want to make that green. Now I need to change my highlight, sentence highlight, because that yellow is really hard to see. I need something a little bit darker, maybe like a dark purple. I can do that. So I'm just going through here. This may not necessarily end up looking that good because I'm just picking some random colors in here. But let's say we wanted to do that, a black word highlight, word background with white word text. You can see the preview in here. It kind of looks like a bad Halloween color scheme right now, but if I close this out and click play, just to show you how it works.
Welcome to ZoomText WebReader, a simple-to-use reading tool that strips away all distracting information from web pages.
Okay, so you have the ability to customize the look and feel of WebReader right within those color settings. So you can customize every single color in here that you want. And the last thing is you can also customize the speech that's used in WebReader. So you heard it earlier. I was actually using the Ava voice. And so WebReader has its own voice settings. Which speech synthesizer you want to use, the speech rate, and its volume. So you can have all independent settings for WebReader when it's reading documents versus the voice that's being read for focus echo and mouse echo. So you can have completely independent settings for that. And I'll just click play so you can hear Ava. She sounds pretty human sounding as well.
Welcome to ZoomText WebReader, a simple-to-use reading tool that strips away all distracting information from web pages.
Okay. If you want to get out of WebReader, you can click the Close button, or it's Command W on the keyboard. There's one other option all the way at the right-hand side here that says Shrink, or you can press Command Return. This will put WebReader in a windowed view. So basically, ZoomText is magnifying on top. I'm just going to resize the window. I don't know why it made it so big. So when you're in the windowed view, what you can do is have WebReader reading information and then be doing other tasks. I'll show you why that's helpful in just a minute when we're reading some articles on the web. So let me go ahead and put this back in full screen and close out of this. And let's go back to Safari, and I'm going to go to Google News. Let's find an article that we want to read. I'm going to go to the sports section because generally there are less controversial news articles in sports. Not all the time, but usually. So let's see. Let's go ahead and read this article about the NBA playoffs. So I've got a web page that I'm opening here that I want to read. I want to read this article, assuming that our internet is going to let us load this page. Okay, maybe I'll open a different page while that's going just to see if that loads up quicker. Okay, there we go. So this is an article about the NFL draft, and as you can see, my gosh, there are already ads coming up in front of our face here. So here's a good example of where WebReader is useful. This ad is right in my face. I don't even know where to close it. I can't even see parts of the article. So if I want WebReader to read this page, I can go back up to the menu option and choose WebReader and read from browser, or easier still is to use the hotkeys, which is Command Option R.
Reach possibility that Chiefs could draft a quarterback is nothing new.
Now that opened it up pretty much instantaneously. It even got cut off because generally when it's loading a page, it will say retrieving content. It's retrieving the content from that web page and then reading it back. So here's the title of the article, Possibility that Chiefs could draft a quarterback is nothing new. And then the beginning of the article.
Over the past few days, ESPN's Chris Mortensen and NFL.com's Ian Rappaport, a pair of respected national reporters, caused a bit of a stir by saying the Chiefs could be interested in drafting a quarterback.
Okay, so automatically it took all the content. You saw that the ad was right in front of my face. I couldn't even see what the whole title was, and WebReader just came back with the article text and started reading it to me. Now let's go to the windowed view because I want to show you where this is really helpful. And let me just resize this window so it's a little bit smaller. So I'll move it off to the side here. So here's Safari. I've still got this ad stuck in front. I don't know why. And it doesn't seem like it wants to go away. But anyway, here's one case where using WebReader was really helpful because you can't even see the whole article because of this ad. But if I have it in the windowed view, I can click play and then go back to my web browser and still be browsing for other content while WebReader is reading.
Over the past few days, ESPN's Chris Mortensen and NFL.com's Ian Rappaport, a pair of respected national reporters, caused a bit of a stir. But
now just go ahead and pause that. Now the nice thing about this windowed view, not only can you have WebReader continue to read things while you perform other tasks. I just went to a different browser tab and scrolled down to a different story. You could be typing an email, you could be looking at other documents while it's reading, so it allows you to multitask. The other nice thing is you can just simply drag and drop links into the WebReader window, and it'll automatically start reading whatever you've dragged into the interface. And so I'll drag this article in there, I'll let it start reading, and then I'll show you it can even continue to drag different articles in there and have it continue to read other things if I want it to.
Retrieving Indiana versus Washington. Real Pacers, please stand up. After nearly losing a cookie series to the Hawks, the Pacers can now breathe a bit. Retrieving NFL draft. Why to buy into Johnny Manziel to Rams rumors, Facebook.
Okay, so I let it start reading one article, and then I scrolled down a little bit and dragged this one in there. So it's a really cool way to just be able to kind of, especially on Google News where you have a lot of different news stories, maybe you're interested in hearing one thing and then find out, well, it's not really that interesting. Let me go to the next one. Just click and drag into the window, and you'll easily be able to start reading that content. You can even copy and paste the link. So if I were to select the text in the address bar, hit Command-C to copy it, then go to WebReader and just press Command-V to paste.
The NBA playoff preview, Miami versus.
You can paste the website URL or link into WebReader, and it'll start reading that article back to you. Okay? So lots of different ways that you can utilize this tool when reading on the web. The other thing that you can do is you can actually go back through previous articles that you were reading. If you hold down the Command key and use the left and right arrow keys, I can go back or forward to any other articles that I had put in WebReader since it was opened.
Indiana versus Washington. Will the read possibility that Chiefs could draft a quarterback is nothing new. Indiana versus NFL draft, NBA playoff preview.
Okay, so I had about 4 different articles that I dragged and dropped into the interface, and I can navigate through all of those by using Command left and right arrow to navigate by article. All right, so a bunch of different ways that you can use this tool when you're on the web. Either, I mean, the real benefit, like I said, is when you get into complex pages. This is a perfect example. The Kansas City Star article that we had, this ad opened up, and I don't even see a button to close it. It's just stuck on screen for whatever reason. I'm sure I could refresh the page and that would fix it. But here's a good example. You've got, they've got ads on the side and the top and certainly right in front of us here. But that makes it really difficult to be able to read information off of the page. And I'm only at 2x magnification. Think of if you're at 5x and you have this ad obscuring half of the title and part of the first sentence. You have no idea what you're looking at. So WebReader takes out all of the guesswork. It's going to just get all of the important article information and read it back to you. There are some limitations. Number one, WebReader requires that you're connected to the Internet. That might seem obvious, but if you disconnect it from the Internet and try and read a web page, it's going to give you an error message. It will also give you an error message if you're trying to read content that requires you to log in or a subscription. New York Times, I believe, is one of those pages. Depending on what page you're on, if you're not logged in, we might not be able to read it. So if I were to turn off my Wi-Fi, if I were to turn this off right now and try and read back this page with WebReader, hitting Command Option R.
ZoomText WebReader is unable to retrieve content from this web page. This may be due to the page requiring security credentials to log in, or an issue with the WebReader engine. Please try again, or copy and paste the content from the web page into the WebReader application window. End of document.
Okay, and I just put it in the full screen view so that you can see that whole message. So we will give you some information if we can't read the page. But again, in this case, I disconnected my Internet, so it wasn't able to parse the information. That being said, you can always copy and paste text or read text from your clipboard with WebReader. So let's do that now, and I'll go ahead and turn my Internet back on. Actually, before I do that, just to show you how it works, so if I were to select the text, maybe, there we go. If I were to select the text in this article here, and it's a little difficult because it's selecting a little bit more than what I want. There we go. If I were to select the text and then copy it by pressing Command-C or right-clicking and choosing Copy, I can now read it with WebReader by going up here. Oops, let me close out the ZoomText Preferences panel. By clicking on the Quick Launch, going to WebReader, and choosing Read from Clipboard. Alternatively, I can just hit Command-Option-P to read whatever is in my clipboard. So what I copied was the article about the Kansas City Chiefs drafting a quarterback. Remember, I tried to read it before and it gave me an error because I disabled my Internet. But now that I've copied the text to my clipboard, let's read from the clipboard.
Possibility that Chiefs could draft a quarterback is nothing new. May 5th, by Terrace A. Paylor, the Kansas City Star. Over the past few days, ESPN's Chris Moore.
Okay, so that was all of the text that I copied from that actual page. It's a little bit different than what WebReader read back when it parsed the information. Like it didn't have, there's maybe some more information, like there are these more news links that I that I copied when trying to select the article and things like that. But my main point here is even if you don't have internet access, okay, you can still copy and paste, excuse me, not copy and paste, but read text from your clipboard as well in WebReader. All right, and that hotkey was Command-Option-P to read your clipboard. A few other things we'll show you. So we've shown you how to read from a web page. Basically just open any page, all right, any article, hit Command-Option-R to start reading it. Let's find one more just so I can show you a different page. Let's see. You know what I'll search for here? 24. All of us that are 24 fans are excited about the premiere. So USA Today, this is a good example website because generally they're a bit unique as far as their layout goes. This video might start automatically playing, so I'm just going to wait and hope that it doesn't interrupt us. But here's the article way down here after all this video stuff. And so I'm going to start WebReader. Hopefully the video doesn't interrupt it, so I'll hit Command-Option-R.
Reach perfect timing 424, live another day. Jack Bauer's back, and he's just as great as ever. Kiefer Sutherland and Mary Lynn Rajskub remain one of the best teams this spy genre has ever produced.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and close this out and just go back to the web page here. So again, started from the title, which is up here. It had this embedded video, and way down here, you know, it didn't read the caption underneath that. It skipped over that, and just started at the beginning of the article, which is right here. So again, takes out all the guesswork, and especially when you're magnifying, this is really going to be important when you get to these complex web pages and don't know where to start your reading tool. For example, if you were to use something like VoiceOver, it'd be very difficult to get down to the actual content that you want to read. VoiceOver does have the capability to read documents back to you, but it's going to start from the very beginning or wherever the VoiceOver cursor is. Think about getting VoiceOver in here and having to jump through all of these links, all of this content, the video, and then finally you're down to the beginning of the article. Okay, and then there's still all this other distracting stuff on the side. So really that's the main benefit of WebReader, is cutting out all of the excess information that's going to be kind of in your way when you're using ZoomText on the web. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of Safari and show you how this works in documents and email. So I'm going to go ahead and open a blog article that Maury wrote for us. And it's just telling me I don't have some of these fonts installed, so I'll just click OK. So this is in Pages right now. It's just a Word document that I have open. So I showed you how you can select text, copy it, and read it with Command-Option-P. There's an easier way to read any text that you're able to select, and that is to first select it with either your keyboard or your mouse, and instead of copying it and then pressing Command-Option-P, if I press Command-Option-U, it'll read whatever text I have selected. So in this case, it's one step instead of two. It's going to start with the text that says first of all. So that's what I have selected, Command-Option-U.
First of all, I'll painstakingly flip through a cookbook, and having to view the table of contents or index at high magnification does not exactly speed up the process.
All right, so this is just an easier way if you're selecting text and then want to read it, to do so with WebReader. Just select it and then hit Command-Option-U. That hotkey will read your current selection. Okay, so that's just a tip as far as making it easier to read things with WebReader. The last thing I want to show you guys before we get into where you can change your voices is when you're using WebReader in something like the mail application. So let's say I've opened this message and I know I want to read the whole thing. If it's a document, an email, I know I want to read it from start to finish. There's a hotkey in WebReader that will automate the process. What you could do is hit Command-A to select all, and then Command-C to copy it, and then press Command-Option-P to read your clipboard. Well, wouldn't it be nice if you could do that all in one step? That's what we have with what we call the grab hotkey. And what that does is basically automates this process for you. So I've opened up my message or my document that I want to read, and if I press Command-Option-P, or excuse me, Command Option G. That will select all the text and read my current selection all in one step.
In case you haven't been checking our Zoom and blog religiously, here's a summary on what you missed in the last few weeks. If you want to know what we talk about on the blog.
All right, so that started reading me back the email in one step without using my mouse, just opening the message and pressing the keyboard hotkey. So let's go over those hotkeys really quickly one more time. If you want to read from your browser page, either in Safari or in Chrome, it's Command Option R. That will read your current active web page. If you want to read any text that you have in your clipboard, that is Command Option P to read from clipboard. Notice I closed out of Safari. The read from browser option on the menu is now grayed out. If I had nothing in my clipboard, that would be grayed out as well. So Command Option R to read from your web browser, Command Option P to read from the clipboard, and then the last two hotkeys, if you want to read your selected text, Command Option U. If you wanted to read all of the text in the active application window, select all of it and read it automatically. That's Command Option G. That will simulate pressing Command A, Command C, and Command Option P all in one step. Okay, so you can see that WebReader allows you to have access to more than just web pages. It's perfect for websites because there's a lot of information that's generally in the way and makes it difficult for you to read the important information. But you can also use it to read back any text that you're able to copy on your computer. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is where you can add some additional voices onto your system for free. We don't ship any of the speech synthesizers that come with ZoomText Mac, but if you go to your System Preferences, and on the System Preferences window choose Dictation and Speech, you're going to want to be on the Text to Speech tab, and then here it says System Voice. Underneath this, you're going to choose Customize. And you have a whole list of voices that you can install on the system, ranging from English voices to pretty much every language you could imagine. Okay. Now, as far as the English voices go, the human-sounding ones, some of these are better than others, but the best ones are Allison, Ava, Samantha, Susan, Alex, and Tom. And if you click on any one of them and click play, it'll give you a little preview.
Hello, my name is Tom. I am an American English voice.
Hello, my name is Samantha. I am an American English voice.
The Samantha voice, I believe, is Siri's voice. So if you have an iPhone or even an iPad and use Siri, you're probably familiar with that voice. Even if you're not, I'm sure you've heard it in the commercials. So those are some of the human-sounding voices that come for free. I tend to like Ava. I think this one's the most human-sounding of the bunch.
Hello, my name is Ava. I am an American English voice.
Okay, so you have all of these voices that you can install for free. All these novelty ones, are really novelty. Like, you know, this one might be my favorite. Bad News might be my favorite.
The light you see at the end of the tunnel is the headlamp of a fast approaching train.
So you can see Bad News is not very positive. But anyway, so these are all novelty voices. You wouldn't want to use those day in and day out, but they do put them on here for free, so you do have the ability to do that. Oh, one other thing while I'm thinking of it, because Maury brought this up to me this morning. She's been using WebReader a lot to read her emails, and one thing that she was doing is opening the message and then reading it with WebReader. So in this case, hitting Command Option G.
In case you haven't been checking our Zoom and blog.
And so she listened to the message and paused it at one point and thought, I want to start responding to this message. How can I do that easily with keyboard shortcuts? Well, one thing you can do is you can leave WebReader open. So right now I've just paused it. And if I hit Control left arrow on my keyboard, that'll bring me back to my desktop. All right, so WebReader is kind of in its own separate window if you're using it in the full screen mode. So I hit Control left arrow to go back, and my email is still selected. All right, so it's still open. It's the active focus. And if I hit Command R, that will open a reply message to the email. Okay, so this is just an example of how you might use this tool. Just to go through that one more time, you know, I have an email open. I start reading it with Command Option G.
Derek Bub, Technical Product Manager.
And then I want to go back and reply to this message. I can just hit Control left arrow, Command R, and start typing my reply. Okay? So really an easy way to kind of automate your workflow if you're using keyboard shortcuts, which again is helpful. If you're at higher magnification levels, you're not going to want to, you know, start WebReader, click the close button, click back on your message, click the reply button. It's just easier to use hotkeys. So that's a little tip that I wanted to share with you guys here this afternoon. All right, so that does it for our demonstration, but certainly if you have any other questions or things that you want to see us demonstrate, feel free to type those in, or during the Q&A we can show anything else as well. So a few last things before we get to question and answer. The upgrade or update is free for existing ZoomText Mac users. So if you already own the product, this is a free update. If you're having any issues with updating, go to the support page on our website and then updates, and find the ZoomText Mac update and install it manually. The first releases of ZoomText Mac, you may have issues with the automatic update. So if you're having any issues, contact tech support or try downloading and installing it manually. The price is $3.99. So if you are new to ZoomText Mac, it's $3.99. If you already own our PC product, if you already own ZoomText for Windows, you get a 50% off discount on ZoomText Mac. So it's $1.99 if you already own an existing version of ZoomText on the Windows platform. Last thing I want to talk about real quick are large print keyboards and keyboard skins. These are Apple manufactured keyboards. They're modified with large print letters and symbols. So there's two different types, well, not really two different types. We have the keyboards and the keyboard skins. Three different colors in the large print keyboards, white on black, black on white, and black on yellow. You can see a picture of the large print keyboard in the lower left. Those are $99. And then we have the keyboard skins. I'll just open up the web page quickly here so you can see it. The keyboard skins are $35 and $30. The $35 ones are for the full-size keyboards, basically a silicone overlay that fits over the top of your existing keyboard. They come in three different colors for the full-size: black on yellow, white on black, and black on white. And then lastly, we have the basically laptop-sized keyboard overlays. Those are $30 and come on black on yellow or white on black. All right, and they fit right over the top of your keyboard. So if you have an existing keyboard or laptop, you can buy one of the skins. If you've got a new Mac computer and you're looking for a large print keyboard solution, you can buy the full-size keyboard for $99. Okay, so those are all some very affordable solutions to round out your low-vision Mac workstation. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's webinar. I've listed our website there and also our email addresses. If you want to contact the webinar staff, that email address is learning@aisquared.com. Sales is sales@aisquared.com. Support @aisquared.com. Listed our phone number and our office hours, which are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you have any questions, run into any issues with ZoomText Mac, feel free to call support, and they can help you out with that. We also have a worldwide network of dealers that resell our product. So if you go to our homepage, if you go to aisquared.com, click on the Dealers tab up at the top. They'll be listed by state here in the U.S. and then country internationally. So if you need any on-site or in-home assistance, some of our dealers may offer that as well. So with all that being said, I'll go ahead and unmute everyone that's here today. And if you guys have any questions for us, feel free to speak up on the other end and ask if you have any questions. getting a little bit of feedback on the other end from Paul's mic. So, Paul, if you have any questions, just feel free to type it in. Maury mentioned that she had lost audio after I said I was going to unmute everyone. Okay. Paul said he's not sure what the sound was. It was nothing on his end. It might have been some just general mic interference. So let us know if you can hear us now, because we had someone else mention that there were some audio issues that they heard after I said I was going to unmute everyone. Okay. We're still trying to confirm if everyone can hear us. We might have...
No, Maury said no.
Okay. Paul, can you confirm if you can hear us? Okay. Paul says he can hear us. So, Maury, it might be something on your end, or I'm not sure. Paul, did you have any other questions for us today that we can answer for you? Anything you're curious about that we didn't cover, or any questions on anything we've covered so far? Let me go ahead and try and unmute you again and see if you have a question. You can just go ahead and speak up. There we go. All right, Paul, can you hear us?
Yes. I assume that it's due to Mac OS, that there can't be anything like the app reader and doc reader. We have to go through the web reader to interpret everything?
That's correct. Yeah, we'd love to do something like app reader on the platform, but there are some technical reasons why we can't do word highlighting within the actual application that you're looking at.
Okay. And have you tried the reading features with Microsoft Office on a Mac yet?
WebReader will work because you're able to select, as long as you can copy the text into the clipboard, it'll work just fine. But as far as Focus Echo goes, I don't know how well their buttons are labeled. The big problem with Microsoft Word was they didn't make any of the controls accessible, so even VoiceOver doesn't have anything to read within that program.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And just to kind of follow up on Paul's point, he's familiar with ZoomText on the PC and was asking about our app reader tool, which basically highlights on screen as it's reading within the actual application. We're continuing to build features onto the Mac, but there are some things like app reader, which right now there are some technical reasons why we can't specifically build the exact same types of features on the Mac. So what we're really trying to do is bring the important functionality that we've identified from other products that we've developed onto the Mac, obviously as best as we can. So you may not see things that are exactly the same as the PC because the operating systems are different. How you interact with them is a little different as well. But our ideal goal is to make the features as easy to use as possible on the platform. Any other questions before we end today's webinar? All right, doesn't look like there's any more questions, so I want to thank you guys for attending today's webinar, and we hope you have a great rest of the afternoon. Thanks again.